I see that we're going to see a massive flight of capital into Bitcoin. And you compound that with the tariffs and the trade war and fear of the Chinese yuan devaluing. And that just makes it even more likely and faster that capital will flow into Bitcoin. You're going to see Sailor and MicroStrategy, or Strategy now, keep buying. We're already seeing the public mining companies stop selling and just borrow and get more Bitcoin. You're seeing GameStop making their foray into this. Nation states, they are all starting to get ready to buy. As soon as all of that buy pressure culminates, you're going to see the price move. You're going to see everything massively decouple. Bitcoin is going to take off like a rocket ship. And that's the thesis behind the Omega candle, right? We're just going to see a supply shock that triggers a massive green candle up. And that's going to trigger more green candles because FOMO is really what drives everything, right? Nobody thinks ahead. Nobody does the research. Nobody understands it. But when it goes up and it decouples, people pay attention and they allocate. And that's it.
Samson Mow opens with a critical observation. We are living in a time of massive uncertainty. Global markets, geopolitical tensions, and domestic fiscal policies are all swirling with contradictions, inefficiencies, and chaos. Numbers that once seemed important, tariffs, CPI rates, Treasury yields, have become arbitrary and manipulated. Tariffs on China, is it 145% or 125%? CPI at 2.4% versus 2.5%. None of it really matters, Mow argues, because these are manipulated statistics built on shaky foundations. This, he says, is the exact moment people need to start asking deeper questions. What do these numbers even mean? Why do they matter? And what are they anchored to? That's where Bitcoin comes in.
Please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. You can also check out our other videos on cryptocurrencies and the overall digital asset space and drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks and enjoy the video.
This is a time of massive uncertainty, and it's a time at which people should be questioning, what do these numbers mean? And why do they even matter? So tariffs on China are at 145. I saw there's a correction. It's actually 125. Who knows? Retaliatory tariffs from China are at 83, 90. Does it matter? Not really. A 90-day pause. Well, why 90? Why not 180? Why not 365, right? These are all arbitrary numbers. CPI at 2.4, arbitrary number, not the other arbitrary number of 2.5, right? So I think in times like this, you have to really think about why Bitcoin matters. And I'm a Bitcoin maxi, and I think Bitcoin is the future. And it is going back to this rules-based system where you have absolute certainty. You're absolutely certain of the upper limit of Bitcoin. There's 21 million. That's it. And that should be enough to, rebase the entire world's economy on. So that's 2.1 quadrillion Satoshis. And it's just a mathematical formula, and it does not change over time. And that's it. So the way I look at it is this is a ruler. And it's a ruler by which you measure every other thing, just like you measure water in liters and milliliters, and you measure distance in kilometers or miles if you're American. There has to be a unit to measure monetary value, and that is Bitcoin. And this is why I think we will be seeing hyperbitcoinization, and we'll see everything being priced in terms of Bitcoin or Satoshis. So yeah, like everything that's happening in the world today really just shows nothing matters except for Bitcoin. That's the only thing that matters, and everything else should be readjusted to be priced in terms of Bitcoin. The real litmus test is buying. The legislation is kind of the setup to get to the point of buying. And it takes time. Like even after legislation is passed, I would assume there are more procedural things like, is it self-custodied? How is that set up? Is it with a custodian? There is an order of operations to get to the stage at which you're buying. But I think they have to accelerate that. And, there are lots of really well qualified Bitcoiners and companies in the US that are positioned to help with that. But the race is on. Either it's going to happen first at the state level, or it will happen first at the federal level, or another country is going to step in and start buying. But the tariff situation and also the weakness in demand for US Treasuries, I think, will start to funnel money from other countries into Bitcoin. Because if you think about everything on a very high level, where are you going to park your capital? Are you going to put it in real estate? And it certainly doesn't help that Besant is saying things like, Chinese stocks can be removed from the stock exchanges. There is rumblings of eminent domain, like seizing assets. All of these things will spook other sovereign nations to do anything with US assets, right? Whether it's a US-based ETF, or if it's just equities, or if it's treasuries or real estate. And when you ask yourself that question, what is the answer? Where do you go? It is just Bitcoin. There's really nothing else that is fully decentralized, permissionless, and without any interested party controlling it. So I see that we're going to see a massive flight of capital into Bitcoin, and you compound that with the tariffs and the trade war and fear of the Chinese yen devaluing, and that just makes it even more likely and faster that capital will flow into Bitcoin. From my perspective, we've been decoupling for the last 16 years, right? You don't go from zero to, whatever we at now, like 70, 80,000 without decoupling from the system. And I think the recent decoupling where equities went down and we stayed steady is a very pertinent indicator that people should be paying a lot of attention to. Because when we are aligned with stocks and we move with stocks, people kind of assume Bitcoin is a tech stock, right? But it is not. It is the ruler by which you measure everything else. There are only 21 million coins, and I don't think people really understand that level of scarcity means there are no undos. There's no take backsies. Once the Bitcoin is gone, it is gone. Once it's off market into the hands of a seller with no intent to sell, that's it. There is no more. You can't make more. You can make an altcoin, but you can't make more Bitcoin, right? So I think you're going to see Sailor and MicroStrategy, or Strategy now, keep buying, taking coins off the market. They've already took double the amount of mined coins off this year. We're already seeing the public mining companies stop selling and just borrow and get more Bitcoin. You're seeing GameStop making their foray into this. And as we talked about before, nation states, they are all starting to get ready to buy. And most of the Bitcoin supply has been mined already. So there's like maybe 1 million coins left to be mined for the next 100 odd years. So where are we going to get more coins? As soon as all of that buy pressure culminates, you're going to see the price move. You're going to see everything massively decouple. Bitcoin's going to take off like a rocket ship. And that's the thesis behind the Omega candle, right? We're just going to see a supply shock that triggers a massive green candle up. And that's going to trigger more green candles, because FOMO is really what drives everything, right? Nobody thinks ahead. Nobody does the research. Nobody understands it. But when it goes up and it decouples, people pay attention and they allocate. And that's it.
Despite all of this, Bitcoin remains under $100,000, and Mow is baffled. He echoes the sentiment of Bitwise CIO Matt Hougan, saying, "We should already be at $200,000, so why aren't we?" Mow attributes it to fear, manipulation, and the temporary dominance of short-term market psychology. Roughly 2 million coins still sit on exchanges, available for price suppression. But long-term holders are stacking quietly, coiling the spring even tighter. And when it does snap, the move will be historic. He reminds us of 2017, when Bitcoin surged 17x despite nothing extraordinary happening. Now, with the world on fire, such a move is not only possible, it's likely.
I honestly think we should have hit 200,000, and it shocks me every day that we're not at 200,000 yet. And that sentiment is echoed by, a macro expert. The CIO of Bitwise has said the same thing. We should already be at 200,000. It's just crazy that we're not there, and we're sub 100 now even. So I think it's just fear. Fear can push it down. There's 2 million coins on exchanges that are sloshing around that allow for price to be suppressed. And the hodlers, the long-term holders of Bitcoin, don't really have an impact. All they do is they coil the spring more tightly because they're not selling and they're accumulating more. So the price is a very short-term thing that can suddenly dissociate. You can suddenly see a big jump, and we've certainly seen this in Bitcoin's history, right? In 2017, we went up 17x, right? It's definitely possible that this happens again, and you just see a massive jump, especially with the state of the world as it is today. All those things we talked about: economic uncertainty, trade wars, currency wars, sovereign debt crises. These things can definitely move Bitcoin. If we can do a 17x when absolutely nothing was happening, we can definitely do a 17x when the world is on fire. There are probably a number of countries that are quietly accumulating, and we see little bits and pieces here and there, and a lot of times it's accidental that it's revealed. Like Bhutan was a secret until they got caught up in, I think, the Celsius filings, and it was revealed that they were holding Bitcoin, and then they kind of came out publicly and said, we're mining Bitcoin with excess energy, and they published some of their balances. So it's almost like the incentive is for countries to quietly accumulate until they can't. But then you also have cases like the US where they're making a big proclamation that we are going to go into Bitcoin in a big way. And I think that's actually more likely because it's difficult for countries to hide things from the public, or at least ideally it shouldn't be the case, because the governments need to be accountable to the people. And if they're doing things in secret, that's not really the ideal situation. So I think going forward, you'll see more proclamations like we are implementing a strategic reserve, we're going to be buying Bitcoin, we're going to be mining Bitcoin. And that's sort of where we come in as Gen 3. It's our mission to work with governments to implement Bitcoin strategies for the sake of world prosperity. And I think there are many pitfalls that governments can go into when they're trying to figure out what they want to do with Bitcoin, right? But there are people out there trying to conflate Bitcoin and crypto, and I know some of your audience is crypto, but I think you have to segment the market. There's Bitcoin, there's crypto, and then stable coins. So there are distinct pockets of different types of things that you can invest in, and you need to really be able to distinguish between the different things. So when Trump was trying to start the U.S. on the path of strategic crypto adoption, there was talk of, is it a strategic Bitcoin reserve or a strategic crypto reserve? And there was a time at which it looked like they wanted to stick a bunch of other crypto in there, like American-made cryptos. And I think that really opens a door to real degeneracy, right? Like if you start adding every single crypto or selected ones, you're kind of picking winners and losers. And where's the line cut off? Is it meme coins too or not? Because what is the difference really between an old meme coin like Doge that is relatively decentralized and still based off proof of work versus something like the newer dog coins? I don't even know the names now, but that can get really bad really quickly. So I guess what we try to do is steer governments to just focus on Bitcoin. If you want to take a libertarian leaning and say everything's okay, then just let everything else proliferate. But focus your messaging, focus your effort, focus your attention on Bitcoin, and that's it. Otherwise, you're getting into a really difficult game of trying to police, regulate, and select good coins to kind of put into a reserve or to adopt in some form or fashion.
Samson Mow's message is clear and urgent. Bitcoin is inevitable. In a world of inflation, manipulation, and monetary chaos, only Bitcoin offers certainty, sovereignty, and stability. Whether through stealth accumulation or bold public strategy, sovereign nations will come to the same conclusion. There is nowhere else to go. And when that realization hits, we won't just see a price spike, we'll witness the dawn of a new financial era, the Omega Candle, hyperbitcoinization, a new ruler for the world's value. Please like and subscribe.